Hello, and welcome to Era of the Goddess. Today we're going to talk about a topic that sits pretty close to home. Now, there are many people in, I guess what I call the hood, and some people would call inner city or urban, uh, which, there's rural hoods too. So, and really anywhere where there's poor people. A lot of, a lot of us hear the call. I guess that's what they are really calling it now. I'm not really one for very fanciful names, like the call and things like that. But I do know there are many who do hear the call and somewhat feel out of place. I do believe, right, that there is a place for you in the paganistic sense. Because if you think about it, what is a Viking? There's somebody who goes and pillages and raids a village for riches, women, resources, most of the time to survive. Yeah, sounds like a street nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's what it is, man. Uh, the that can be, very reflective in the modern time because, people would say, well, a Viking is a pirate, a sea raider, and, barbarians, land raiders. Well, really, if you think about it, a home invader does the same thing as a Viking does. Like, when you de romanticize what's really going on, yeah. They are pretty much what today's home invader would be, you know. And if you think about the church embargoes on pagan peoples that, you know, led to an economic downturn where they had to then, instead of trade for resources, take them. Now, I don't necessarily say that these are good things to do. Um, I don't necessarily say that anyone should go out and do these things to be like a Viking. That's not what I'm saying. Um, that would be a very silly reason to do something like that. But everybody out there has their own reason on why they do those sort of things, you know? And if you look at it, right, in society, the aspect of what a warrior is, right, is somebody who commits, violence for a cause, whether that be that just as they want to, political, someone that, violence is a part of their profession also could be the definition of a warrior. Uh, so there's a few that you could use, uh, and I think that fits, in a sense, gangsters too. Now I know this opinion is probably going to be 100% controversial, uh, on myself. Uh, well, not anymore, but at one point I was a gangster myself while, practicing the faith. I had heard the call way before I ever started doing that. And I definitely know that the gods pulled me out of some situations where I would have lost my freedom, doing 20 years, crazy shit. But the gods they have their ways and they do what they do, and I can't deny that in that regard I've been blessed, you know? And the barrier to entry also might be a little bit harder in this faith in comparison to many others, and that is because the almost you have to seek the wisdom like Odin in order to really get a broader sense of how the faith works. However, I do believe that the warrior still applies to the person who is a warrior in the street. A war in the street is the same as a war in Iraq, except one is covert and one is very overt. And, you could make that comparison to where, because there was Norse and Germanic kings, and you could compare the modern day soldier to, I would say, the army of the Norse or Germanic king, and definitely the modern gangster fills that role of what a Viking was, because yes, we think of the sagas and other things of these heroes, and we look at things like Ragnar Lothbrok, but if you really go back and think about it, no, Ragnar Lothbrok probably wasn't a great guy. Like, I know he was a hero. He was the perfect representation of his time. But if you brought him today, he would probably be a gangster. Then, because, I've literally been there in conversation. Think about this, right? If you think about it, when they probably attacked the village, they probably sat there planning, like, oh, these people are weak. They have a lot of things. They're very weak. They show their wealth. We'll raid their village, take their lands, their women, their cattle, everything. Right now you see how that sounds. Now you just change the language a little bit, and real ass conversation that I heard about. Yeah, this conversation didn't involve me. I wasn't involved. But anyway, allegedly, that from this third party story, how it goes, you got a few people sitting there, and they look in and say, oh, okay, this is a hypothetical, actually. No matter of fact, this whole section right here is hypothetical. Okay. Yeah, it's literally the same thing, right? You got somebody exploring. Okay. See this guy, he's flexing. He's got some money. He's got some dope. He's got some whatever. Right? Okay, you're going to go in there and get it. Kick down the door. Replace swords with guns. Replace villagers of towns with just people. It's literally the same type of people. And there you go. Now, this also brings me to my other point, where there's a little bit too much romanticization. I can't say that word, but there's a little bit too much romance that is thought about, or that's linked when we are talking about the Viking Age, where we really seem to glamorize activities that I would say we would look down on today. Right? In fact, I would say any person of the faith who would say, venerate a person like, I don't know, Ragnar Lothbrok, or many of the other Vikings that I can't think about, I mean, I don't know. Everybody knows Ragnar Sons. All these people. There's really not. There's not too much difference between a lot of them, honestly. Like a Viking was a pretty like cast type of person. Like it's the same thing like a gangster is. It's a pretty cast type of person. Come from very similar backgrounds. There's gonna be very similar personality traits for the ones that succeed and thrive in that environment, and there's gonna be, traits that are gonna show and indicate that this person is not gonna succeed in this environment. Now, this is not to say that the gods or anything like that are okay with criminality. I know for certain that there are gods that are very anti-criminal. You know, Tyr is one of them. So many of his followers are law enforcement, military. Very strong sense of justice and punishment, or I guess sentencing. Very structured and ordered. However, there is a place in the faith for people of all backgrounds. I hear a lot from people who, may come from that background, similar to mine, that say, oh, I don't really know how to fit in. These people are very different from me. And understand it can be hard to be out of one's comfort zone. But you've got to, open up your mind. And I think that's one thing that the faith really does, is it helps open the mind of the person who chooses to be in contact with the gods. So let me get a little bit into my story. And this is going to turn into a long video. Right? I grew up in Florida. A lot of people think Florida is Disneyland, especially the city of Orlando. That is not the case. The thing about well, I guess I'll just start from the beginning, and kind of tell you guys like where I was before the faith, where I was after the faith, and my whole kind of journey. So I first, started off young. Father wasn't around. Kind of the common story. Single mother. Moved around a lot around Florida. And that shit was kind of hard. A lot of male relatives in prison. Not a lot of good male role models around. But I can at least say, like, in my life, I've had highs and lows because, like, I've got to live really, really poor, but I've also, at, times, got to live really well. I wish I got to have lived more of the doing well times than the doing bad times, but, the Norns, they know fate. And, that was just in my fate, but, I got through it and it made me who I am today. Now, I believe that when I was like 7, right, I had first had an experience that I could say was supernatural. And definitely I had always felt that the gods were around, but not how to perceive them, not how to, or I didn't know how to really connect, because until that point, and I've always, well, I mean, you can't be too intelligent if you end up becoming a criminal at some point, but I've always been smart, at least. I'm not a stupid person. I learned to read people, which actually, right, if we look at stanza 18 of the Hamaval, or I don't know how to say the Old Norse pronunciation, I'm sorry. That part where it talks about a person who's, done a lot, seen a lot, begins to kind of learn how to read people, kind of, they get to, learn how to like predict and start to get moves ahead. But in that, in a sense, I feel the thing that brought me closest, well, I guess to a person in the streets, like, the Hamaval is like the best advice you could ever get in your whole fucking life. Honestly, because it's just very true. You just can't trust people. Gotta make sure of everything that's going on. You be around for a while. You learn how to read people. Get caught up in these women and hoes. You're gonna lose all. It's very folly. Learn to shut your mouth. Talk too much without knowing. You look stupid, right? Looking stupid makes you look weak. You look like a fool, so many things can happen. So I definitely think, right, for those of you out there who had felt that there wasn't a place for them because of their background, I hope you do understand that there is a place for you if you hear the call, and to please embrace it. Don't worry about not fitting in. Don't worry about anything else. In time, in time you'll be able to evolve with the faith to the point where, that point of not filling in or fitting in, you'll learn where you belong. There's a place for everybody. Just as there's a place for me, there's a place for you. Right? And, here I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, but humble myself to come to you at your level and my level. Because we're on the same level. We started there. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And until next time, hail the gods, and blessed be to you.